Association. And we have some announcements to make regarding banks in just a couple of minutes. Just give you a brief update sort of on where we are right now. We added another 557 people tested positive for COVID, 16 fatalities, 608 hospitalized. So those numbers continue to ramp up in a way that we had anticipated, sadly. Again, most of the folks who were found infected, 400 in Fairfield County, another 145 in New Haven County. So you can see that the virus is heading north. Hartford County right behind. But fortunately, as you know from yesterday when we had the hospital leaders here, we have capacity and we are preparing for that and doing everything we can to expand capacity going forward. One thing I was reminded of today, and I try and remind the White House every day, is that Connecticut is the fourth most COVID-infected state in the country per capita, behind New York, New Jersey, Louisiana, and Connecticut. And that's why I always impress upon the feds in any way I can, think about this virus as a region, not state by state. A little disturbing today to find out that the National Strategic Stockpile is now empty. We did get 50 ventilators, for which I'm very thankful, but for now, we are on our own, and for now, we are working our heart out, scouring the globe for PPE as best we can. And I got to tell you, as your governor, this breaks my heart. We've got doctors, nurses, bus drivers, cops, firemen, baggers at the grocery store and food bank, court marshals, juvenile detention facility, a lot of our frontline heroes. I'm asking everybody else to stay at home. These are the folks who are what we call essential workers, frontline, every day, going to work. And I feel like a general sending our troops in the battle without the protective gear that they deserve. They don't have the defenses, and they're doing everything they can to save you. And I am working on that every day with my heart. We talk a lot about all the rules and regulations and orders that we can implement to make sure that those of you who are not essential workers stay at home, stay at home, stay at home. Maybe put a picture of one of those nurses or other first responders on your door, just to think about him or her as you're about to leave. Think about the fact that you're not just endangering yourself, but you're endangering her and your greater community. I can't tell you how urgent this is as we head into April, which will be the horrible month. I'll tell you a little bit about some other industries we've got that are operating different ways. Manufacturing, we've had good conversations with the manufacturers. Most of them are still open. You may be saying, why are they still open? Well, almost all of them are related in the healthcare or defense-related aerospace industries. Those aerospace defense are protected as critical industries. But we're working very closely with them and all the other smaller manufacturers that are in their supply chain. And trying to make sure that they follow the best practices. Everybody going into that factory floor, take your temperature, get fever tested, on the way in. Make sure that everybody that doesn't have to be there isn't there on the factory floor, so at least they can have good social distancing. Make sure that between shifts, and this is what the other manufacturers are doing, there's no overlap. And there's maybe an hour between shifts so you can really do the cleanup and antiseptics that you have to do. And frankly, at lunch, most people have closed down their cafeterias and people are going out to their car for lunch. These are the type of smart things that our manufacturers are doing, especially since they are still in operation by law. We're doing everything we can to keep them safe. Transportation, I can tell you that not only is Metro North 95% less occupied, which is really good. I hope that the only people there are essential workers like those first responders. The airports are 95% without passengers now cargo traffic continues to go up. I was sort of struck talking to our Department of Transportation today, and which is striking to me. We still continue to do some of our major transportation projects, some of which we're in process already. We spent a lot of time talking about transportation this year. It was interesting to me that now, with 30–40% less traffic on most of those roads, we can close a lane or two. And what that means is we can do the construction faster at a lot less cost. So where possible, we're continuing to do those major construction projects, again, making sure that there's proper social distancing and only people who have to be there, actually are there. I'll tell you that as we think about our first responders and everything we can do to make their lives easier, we had our unified command call again today, and I was just struck by the fact that 211 call, that's the call people can call anytime they have questions. Increasingly, the number of questions related to daycare more than doubled in the last few days. And Beth Bye, our amazing Commissioner of Early Childhood, is now working with more daycare providers, and many are considering reopening again. And we're opening the funnel for who has access to daycare, opening the funnel in terms of who is a necessary first responder that we actually have to get there. Obviously, at the beginning, it was nurses and doctors, and we co-located next to those hospitals. And now it's folks in nursing home, it's police, fire, corrections officers. We desperately need people safe and able to go in and be responsible there. Food. We continue to have, incredible food insecurity issues. Salvation Army is setting up a variety of additional local sites, and we do need more volunteers, folks who can help deliver, folks who can help package, folks who can drop that lunch out at some senior's home who we definitely do not want going out for lunch, but to have that delivered. When it comes to the homeless and nursing homes and corrections, all those places where people do tend to be in close proximity, we're doing everything we can to decongest, get anybody who is COVID infected or even suspected of COVID. We got them self-quarantined. We have them in separate quarters. And that's just incredibly important to make sure that we don't have these congested areas become a petri dish. And yes, for the folks in corrections, we continue to release those who are the most nonviolent, and a special focus on those who are older, those who are most at risk, trying to find out where they would be most safe. If there's a place outside of the corrections facility, or is it a separate negative air place that they can be safest going forward. Just say that from the health insurance folks, we've had a very good feedback from them. We're going to be able to make some announcements. You'll be able to tell you very soon. But I have a high degree of confidence that anybody who has been distressed by COVID in any way, shape, or form, I know this is March 31st. I know this is a date of some anxiety because bills are due, and I have it on very good confidence that your health insurance and all other insurance will go forward with a grace period, assuming that this is a COVID-related delay that maybe you have here. And, with that, I'm going to tell you just briefly and introduce George Perez, our amazing Commissioner of Banking. Our banks have been just extraordinary partners for us during this incredibly complicated time. And obviously, people have mortgages, people are worried about evictions, people are worried about foreclosures. And I think George has some good news on how we're going to handle that.
Thank you, Governor. Early on in this situation, the governor made it clear to us that he wanted us to reach out to our respective industry and figure out ways how we could lessen the impact on our citizens. So I've been working with Bruce Adam, who's the president of the Connecticut Credit Union League, and Tom Mangillo, who's the president of the Connecticut Bankers Association. And they both represent their industries, and we come up with a proposal, an initiative. And I want to thank both of them, because without their help this Saturday and Sunday, and before then and today, we would not be here today. And I'm happy to announce that we have an initiative that 62 financial institutions, credit unions, and banks have signed on to it. And we expect within another day or so, we'll have quite a few others they're going to join us, and they have not, only simply because we have not been able to connect with them, or there's still some questions that need to be answered, especially for the smaller size institutions. But I'm happy to announce that, you want me to go with some of the details, or you will do that? That as a result of this initiative, there will be a 90-day grace period for all mortgage payments that are related to COVID-19. So if you have a mortgage and you were a barbershop worker, restaurant worker, any worker, and you were laid off or furloughed, or your income has changed, you're to call your financial institution or your mortgage servicer and let them know that you have been impacted by COVID-19, and they will work with you to at least give you up to a 90-day grace period for now. There's also a commitment that for the next 60 days, there will be no foreclosures as a result of COVID-19. Again, all they will ask you is to attest that that's the case. They're not going to ask you for a doctor's note. They're not going to make you go through a lot of loops. All these institutions have also committed to making it an easy process. So most likely, the way it will be done is you go to their website, there will be several questions asked, you submit the form, and then someone will contact you. I will ask consumers who are hearing this, please don't, in the next minute, start calling those banks. They're not ready for those calls yet. Give us a day or two to be able to trickle down the instructions and the directions that those call centers are going to need to be able to service you quickly and with as minimum frustration as possible. What I want to show you is that every one of those banks and credit unions are committed to help you and to work with you if you're a residential mortgage holder, as well as if you are a commercial customer. In addition to what I already stated, they will work with you in waiving fees related to late payments for mortgages, early CD withdrawals, and other fees associated as an impact of COVID-19. Last but not least, and there are other parts to this announcement, there'll be no credit score changes for assessing relief. In other words, your credit score would not be impacted because you were given a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, or in some cases, if it was warranted, something different. They would not report that as bad credit. They would not report that as a non-payment.
Thank you, George. Tom, thank you. What you're doing and everybody you represent.
Well, thank you, Governor, and thank you, Commissioner. And I'd just like to say that this is another example of a public-private partnership, if you will, with the business community that your administration has reached out to the third time, if I remember correctly. So it obviously does work. So our banks are obviously deeply concerned about our customers and essentially reaching out to them, which they have already done, and also having their customers that may be impacted by COVID-19 reaching out back to their banks, whether it be their branch managers, whether it be their commercial lending representative, so that they know exactly what's going on with their situation. The goal is to essentially do an early triage, if you will, as George was talking about before. Don't wait. Essentially go right in and contact your institution, especially when this program is up and running in a couple of days. Bruce?
Thank you, Governor. You know, these past couple of days has been an amazing amount of collaboration, and you know, I think our industry is built on collaboration. I think back to, you know, FDR signed the Federal Credit Union Act in 1934 to pull people out of hard times, and that's really our purpose. In some ways, we feel like we've been training for this our whole lives, and you know, for the past couple of weeks now, or few weeks, we've been modifying and doing all sorts of creative options for our borrowers, mortgages, non-mortgage loans, and we're really grateful for the opportunity to come together under your leadership and really give some good service to the residents of Connecticut. You know, an old slogan for credit unions is not for profit, not for charity, but for service. And we're here to do that today. Thanks.
If I can say one more thing. I want to emphasize that this is not government heavy-handed. The governor was clear he wanted relief for the consumers, but his preference was to do it in a collaborative way. And that's what we're talking about today. And I also want to assure all the consumers that your deposits are safe. If you have your deposits in a federally insured bank, well, not federally insured bank, but it's insured by the FDIC in case of a bank, or the NCUA in case of a credit union, they're safe. I would like to encourage you to be careful with a lot of different scams that are going out there, people trying to take your money, whether it is because of the $1,200 we're supposed to be getting or because they're trying to get you to buy gold. If you want to buy gold, it's because you think it's a good investment, not because the war's coming to an end. So I just want to encourage consumers to be careful during this time because we've got a lot of complaints about scams.
I'll just follow up. I know the note of desperation we hear, talking to many people, all the calls we get, and we've talked a lot about what we're doing in terms of health care, and I just wanted to give people a little bit more confidence that you've got, government's got your back, the banks are doing everything we can, no foreclosures, to be able to help you get through this. What we're trying to do with the health insurance companies, we get through this federal bridge which comes in, that covers interest payments, mortgage payments, and health insurance payments. So doing everything we can to give you confidence that even though you don't know what tomorrow will bring, at least you know that we've got your back going forward, at least for the next 4 months when hopefully we'll be on the backside of this crisis. Any questions?